Hi friends, this is Patrick from the Proving Grounds and Take Up Slack team. I'm excited to share a new feature that we launched in Take Up Slack in March 2025 around glider rental rate rules. We're going to cover today in this video what they are, how to set them up, how to apply them to gliders, sell them to members. We'll go through some more examples of some rules that might be applicable at your club, and then go over some administrative considerations. I do apologize in this video, the screen recordings took place before we renamed the feature, so you'll see them called blocks in the demos, but they're now called glider rental rate rules. So what are glider rental rate rules? This is the diverse ways that gliding clubs use to bill for the glider duration. They're often passed down from the wise members of the past, creating the bureaucracy of the fee structure that we know and love at our respective gliding clubs. We do the same things, but we've all found different ways to bill for them. And glider rental rate rules, this modular feature in Take Up Slack, is our effort to help you define your rules. If you have different rules for students in training gliders, if members can prepay for blocks of time, if there's an unlimited time permission for members to fly club gliders, if you have different rates for members versus visitors, maybe you're at a commercial operation, and also impose flight duration limits. So rental rates are defined in the admin section of Take Up Slack under the glider rental rate administration section. To create a new rule, you're going to hit the new rule button here. It says new block. But the main things to consider when setting up a rule are the name, the block flight value, unlimited time. Are we consuming prepaid money or consuming prepaid minutes? If it has a price to be applied to rental revenue and drawn from a member's account, the tax implication in our normal logic, tax exempt, inclusive of tax, or tax on top. You can choose the applicable taxes. The expiry is the first of either the membership year, or this could be a number of calendar days if you're running an event that has a special rate, or if you have someone that might has a permission to fly for a number of flying days. This will keep track of the number of flying days before this rule terminates or expires. We can set minimum flights requirements, so minimum's $5 or 10 minutes, and maximum flights where if a flight goes over a limit, you can be charged a rental rate with a multiplier. So if a flight went over 30 minutes on a training flight, there could be a discount 50% of the minute, or twice the number of minutes, depending on the rule that you want to impose. And then also a setting for active or inactive, if you want to see this in the drop down when you're applying it for gliders or allocating it to members. Just a quick point on accounting implications. All of the fees and the package sales impact rental revenue. So if you sell a rule to a member, their member account will be debited and the rental revenue will be credited. We do believe that running more accounting through Take Up Slack simplifies the administration of your operation. However, if you're charging members for their rental permissions outside of Take Up Slack, then please default the prices for any rules to 0, so that when they're applied to members, you're not drawing their account of funds that were not put into their account to represent that financial performance. I'm going to take you through an example of building an actual rule here. For some clubs that might pre-sell a number of minutes, this is an example of that, a 12-hour prepaid rule. Go into the admin section, we're going to hit new rule. We're going to name this rule to be 12H prepaid, and the block flight value for this prepaid minute glider rental rate rule. So we're going to change that drop down to minutes. Of course, there's 720 minutes in 12 hours, so we're going to set that as the value that's consumed by flying. We're going to say this has a price of $500 exclusive of state tax, so $500 plus the 5% state tax is what will be billed to member accounts. In this rule, the rule expires at membership year end. It's not limited by calendar days. It's not limited by flying days. There's no minimum flight rule or maximum flight rule, so we can hit save changes. And we've created a rule for a 12-hour prepaid block. Once the block is defined, or the glider rental rate rule is defined, we need to apply it to the applicable gliders. So if you had a student rental rate, you might apply it to the training gliders. You might have junior cross-country gliders, likely not private gliders, but here in admin, you're going to go fleet administration, open up the glider, and you'll see this applicable blocks drop down. There you can choose from the blocks or the rules that you've defined that will be applicable to those that have that permission assigned to their profile and are flying that particular glider. So we define the rule, we apply it to the gliders, and now we're going to allocate it to members. Once the rule's been defined and it's been assigned to a glider, we can now effectively sell this package to members. Again, that's done in the admin section under user administration. We're going to use my user as an account here, so find myself. And under the block time drop down, we're going to see all of the blocks that have been defined. You can drop that down. The student block, $850, defaulted to the current member season. And we can override block settings. There's that little checkbox there. So if you want to change the price, you want to change the start or end date, you can do those by overriding. Otherwise, you're going to hit submit, and then that block will be assigned to the member. They have that permission, and their account will be adjusted by that $850 amount. And we can see that real quick. We have that $1646 up top. When we hit submit, the balance immediately goes down to just less than $800. I'm going to refresh the user setting here, and you can see how we can confirm that these rules have been applied to members. So if we drop down that block time, we see the active blocks for this flight, when it started, when it ends, and what balance is being drawn down. So you do have the ability to check in on the consumption of the glider rental rate rules on a member by member basis. As a reminder, if you're not putting funds into member accounts in Take Up Slack for the purchase of the block, please set those values to 0. Otherwise, do put those funds in member accounts so that when you post these rule sets to the account, you recognize that revenue in rental revenue. We'll go through a couple more rules to define and Take Up Slack here. This one for a student. So if you want a rule set that encourages people to take lots of flights but not duration flights, you might put a limit on the duration of the flight. So in admin, we're going to go into glider rental rule administration and hit new rule. We're going to define this block or this rule as student. It's unlimited in the case of the block flight value that we're consuming. We'll put this $850 price on it, and that includes state tax. So in our mystical state that has a 5% tax rate. This is going to be good for the entire membership year, but there is going to be a per flight limit on the max flight here. So if we put this on minutes and we change that max flight to 30 minutes, we can set the factor with which the glider rental rate is going to be applied to this member. So this person's going to pay 50% the glider rental rate on flights that go over 30 minutes. But they can take an unlimited number of 30-minute flights without being billed for time. Of course, they'll pay for launches, but they won't be billed for time if their flights stay less than 30 minutes to encourage them to take more takeoffs and landings to advance their soaring progress through the student phase. Another popular rule that we're aware of at many gliding clubs is the opportunity to fly club gliders without a per minute charge, an unlimited time rule. So here under the admin section, we're going to go into the rules administration. We'll hit new rule. We'll start with naming the rule. In this case, we're going to call it unlimited time. Our flight value will be unlimited. This isn't consuming a dollar amount or a number of minutes. We're going to set the price to $1,100 and say it's tax exempt, so tax is not included and it will not be added. This is going to expire at the membership year end, not after a number of calendar days or flying days. There's no min flight limit or max flight limit. It's an unlimited time permission, and that's how you'd set up an unlimited time block. This is another interesting rule. Maybe you might have this if pilots that were not members were flying club equipment and you wanted to charge them a premium. In admin, we're going to go into the glider rental rate section, hit new rule. We're going to call this rule visiting pilot for argument's sake here. I might suggest that you would want to do a block flight value of dollars here and consume the money, but this is set up with unlimited time. We're going to set the value of this permission for a member to fly or non-member to fly club equipment at $700 inclusive of our 5% state tax. This is going to expire after 5 flying days. They don't have to be consecutive days, but the member will have access to this permission for 5 days. And we're going to set a max flight per flight limit here. So that's going to change to minutes, and we're going to leave it at 0 minutes. So any flights longer than 0 minutes are going to be charged at a multiple of the regular rental rate, in this case 1.5 times the rental rate for a visiting pilot that might be flying club equipment or whatever glider this rule is applied to. Another touch point on the accounting rules here. So accounting from the sale of packages to members and any fees generated from flying on a per minute basis based on the rules that you define are going to impact the following accounts. They're going to debit from the member account and they will credit a combination of the rental revenue account and the sales tax account if applicable. So if that's for tax exempt or tax inclusive or tax exclusive. Multiple rules can be active with an individual. They might have a student rule and a junior cross country block or something like that. And they can have more of one of the same package at the same time. So if they were buying a 6-hour block and they were getting close to the end, they could buy another 6-hour block, consume one, and then consume straight into the other. Where multiple rules are active for a pilot, the logic is to apply the least expensive rule, make that the priority, and least expensive is evaluated from the perspective of the member, not the club. So it's the kind of tie goes to the runner. In this case, if there were a block that provided unlimited free time, that's the rule that will take priority over one that has a declining balance, whether it's dollars or minutes. Members that have blocks will see the status of any blocks that they have right on their main screen below their account balance. So in this example, my user account has the student block, which is unlimited and expires at the start of the next calendar year, which is the start of the membership year for this club that was defined through setup. If a member does not have a block, they're just going to see their account balance, what you're used to seeing in Take Up Slack if you're familiar with the platform before the introduction of the glider rental rate rule feature. From a self-serve perspective, within the menu item called User Account Summary, here you see the activity on my account through the day. I started the day with $646.75. I made a Venmo deposit of $1,000. I was charged for the glider rental rate rule, the student block, and then I took a 2,000-foot launch, which was $50 inclusive of tax. And because the rule that was applicable to me had a 30-minute limit, I was charged at 50% of the rental rate for the next 20 minutes. So at $2.20 a minute for 20 minutes, and 50% of that was $22 including tax. So that's my view on my expenses through the day. From the accounting perspective, if we went into accounting charts, we can see the cash in of $1,000 and we can see the impact to the member account. So it was credited by $1,000 for the payment, but it was debited by $922. We can see the $922 in the sales tax account payable, our sales tax obligation. We can see it in the tow revenue, and we can see it in the rental revenue, which is both the sale of the permission, the rental rate rule, as well as the extra 20 minutes above the 30-minute permission that my flight consumed. So if you have more questions than this answered, this is a great opportunity to reach out through takeupslack.com. If you'd like to test some of the rules that you use at your club and see how they could be implemented in Take Up Slack, we'd be happy to work through that with you. Or if you just want to learn more about what Take Up Slack can do to simplify your flight line and dramatically simplify the work of your treasurer, of course, we'd love to answer questions along those lines. We hope that you have a safe and exciting soaring season, and we look forward to supporting you in the future. Thanks for your time.